How to achieve global sustainability and climate resilience. With global sustainability and climate resilience on the tips of everyone's tongues, it can be hard to know where to start. Luckily, Bundschu Company is here to help. In this video, Megan shares her top tips for achieving global sustainability and climate resilience in your community. Watch now and be inspired to make a difference. Welcome to the Wellness Driven Life Show. Let me introduce our guest. Growing up in Indiana, Megan always felt a deep connection to the environment. This led her to achieve her MA in Global Sustainability and Climate Change at the University of South Florida, Patel College of Global Sustainability. She developed a passion for sustainable and organic agriculture there, working on agricultural solar, wastewater reclamation, anaerobic biodigestion. It's going to take me a minute to say all of this correctly. Vermiculture and full circle aquaponic/hydroponic projects. Did I do okay there? When she moved out to wine country, she was ecstatic that Bundschu wanted to step outside the box and drive their plan to mitigate and adapt to climate change. With many underlying initiatives to making the wine world sustainable, Megan loves being the one to help lead a sixth generation, and it might be seven, we'll have to ask, family-owned company to further resilience and success. Please help me welcome Megan Seamers.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, April.
Oh, you're welcome. It's a pleasure to have you on the Wellness Driven Life Show.
Very excited to be here.
Awesome. So outside of that bio, can you tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So as you mentioned, I grew up in Indiana and I spent most of my childhood out there. I went to high school in Indianapolis and undergrad at Indiana University Bloomington, and then shipped out to Florida to achieve my master's degree. And then I moved to California about 3 years ago, and I've been here ever since, and wanted to, get my roots down here, and have been working for Bundschu ever since. And I spend my time very much outside, outdoors. If I'm not working, I'm out hiking, spending time with my friends, just your typical things.
Oh, I love that. Well, and I can definitely relate with the outdoor and the hiking. Those are some of my favorite things to do. And I hope that I got some of the wording right. I don't know.
You did. You actually nailed it. I was really impressed.
Oh,
But as you
now I'm flattered. Now I'm flattered. Wonderful. Thank you for that. It's really an exciting topic for me. And I have to say that when I first learned about Bundschu, and maybe you want to tell the audience, like, how you have people remember that, the Bundschu.
Yes, that's you broke it down perfectly.
But I'm hitting my buns and tapping my shoe.
You broke it down perfect.
Yes. So
we even have on our corks, we have little symbols that can help people pronounce it. So we have our little gun and a lock, and then buns, like hamburger buns, and a shoe.
Yeah. Well, I know that you guys really had to, try to go a different route in this day and age with names like that. Because we just don't understand that anymore as much, societally speaking, right? So rebranding in a sense to make sense for everybody so they can remember and understand and know. And when we had it was Jessica and Joe who came to Wine 30 on Oak Street in Roanoke, Texas. And my good friend Annette owns Wine 30. And so she asked us if we would come to the wine tasting. And I love to go support her, and we're part of her wine club that she does. And what's really great about it is she partners with so many people. She tries to do as much in Texas, but also with vineyards that are all over the world. So we went, my husband and I, and we met Jessica and Joe, and we had such a wonderful time. And when I learned about the history and the background, I was just enthralled, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, we need to share this with the rest of the world because it's just cool. It's such a rich history." And so and when I learned about it's called the regenerative organic certification that you, especially Megan, are such a massive part of the company going that route and obtaining that certificate and all of its feats. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that is and what that looks like?
Yeah, definitely. So to kind of preface a little bit, Gunlock Bundschu, we are in our 165th year of in the wine industry. So that is a
So cool.
lot of history to, dedicated to one name and one property, actually. So
Right. Tell a little bit about that because as far as my knowledge, that's pretty unheard of. And it may
yeah,
be the oldest in the US. Yeah.
yeah, so we're the oldest family-owned winery in California. So they have been tending to Rhine Farm, which is our home ranch, since 1858. And
Mm,
now that we are in our sixth generation of the family, and of course, facing all of these changes and the environment due to climate change. A few years ago, they, really realized, the family, that this regenerative organic path and this sustainable path of wine industry is so imperative to their continued success and being able to continue to farm the land that creates the wines that we love so much. And to be able to continue to produce those wines, we have to, of course, first pay attention to where those grapes are grown and how they're grown. And so with me stepping in to the picture, it was kind of just trying to think about how we can adapt to and mitigate from the changes that we're starting to see in the wine industry as far as farming and agriculture goes. So the regenerative organic certification, that is this new, state of, it's kind of the gold standard of farming right now. And it really is, because it goes past sustainability, and it takes the state of your land as it is, and recognizes that there has been years put onto this earth of human impact. So it
mm,
recognizes that we're in a state of degradation, and we have to be able to kind of dig ourselves out of a bit of a hole to find extended resiliency for the land and the environment and the soil that we all utilize for food and our luxury products like wine. And
yeah.
so because we are a long-standing family of the wine industry, we have this inherent need to protect the land and kind of set ourselves as leaders in terms of moving the industry into a more environmentally progressive manner, especially when we have so many acres as in general from the industry. There's so many acres actually in California alone. I
Yeah.
think there's almost 900,000 acres dedicated to grapes. And that includes, table and raisin grapes, but wine grapes alone is about 620,000 acres. That's a lot of land. And that's a
Yeah.
lot of land that, we have to be responsible for. And so that's kind of, the underlying reasoning.
Well, I want to step back and paint a big picture for the audience because
Mhm.
yes, that's a lot of land. And some of the things that I didn't know because I'm not in the industry. I'm not farming anymore. And so but what it takes. So you talked a little bit about, having to reutilize that land generation after generation after generation and the breakdown, and how do you maintain this rich soil in order to have a good production,
Mhm.
and I don't think that a lot of people think about that, of what that means, and especially in the route of doing it organically
Mhm.
outside of chemicals, and
Mhm.
what that looks like.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you are thinking about this topic and compared to conventional versus organic versus regenerative, if you're looking at a conventional farm, in order to continue um, getting the yields that they of grapes that they get year after year to make the wine, of course, there's a lot of fertilizers going in. There's a lot of pesticides to prevent pests. There's all kinds of different outside inputs that are going in there, synthetic inputs. And so farming organically, you're not using any of those synthetic inputs. The farming organically is really focused on what you're putting on your crops, and what you're not allowed to put on your crops. And then regenerative organic, you're thinking extremely holistically with your farming system to kind of have these natural cycles that work with not only your crop, but also the native land surrounding it, the ecosystems within it, and the most important is the soil health. And so how you are keeping your soil microbiome in a self-sustaining cycle year after year. And that for the wine industry, that comes into play mostly with cover crops and compost and rotational grazing. And those things are all encompassing in regenerative organic certification. So we're really already doing these things here at Bundschu. And so going after that certification, it really just adds an additional layer of transparency for our consumers, to give them the purchasing power to recognize when something is legitimately beneficial for the environment or not hurting the environment. And, so I think a lot of people can have qualms against certifications, but for me, I think it's just super important to allow consumers to be able to recognize and also help provide the knowledge for them to continue to make other decisions outside of the wine industry relating to supporting, beneficial agriculture.
I agree with you. And I want to go back on the point of in agreement with you on the importance of having that certificate, because, it really does show the person, the purchaser, it gives them this sense of, oh, I feel better about, drinking this because I know it's better for me. I know it's better for my health. What I'm putting in on and around my body matters to me,
Mm-hmm.
and so I want to know, because from my recollection, I there was a number of years that it took to get this certification. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's very correct. So, in order to even apply for the certification, there is the standard that you must be certified organic. And to be certified organic, there is a 3-year transition period where you have zero outside synthetic inputs on your crops. So, there's a USDA National Organic Program list. And on that list, it's things that you can and cannot use. And so anything that you cannot use, if you've had it on your property or on your soil anywhere, then you have to go through a 3-year transition period where absolutely nothing is going on there that is not allowed. And so that's where we started. We used to not farm all of our property in-house. We're a much smaller company about 4 years ago, and we've had the luxury of being able to grow and bring all of our farming in-house. And that was when we were like, okay, this is the time. this is where we're going to, step up and farm the way that we really want to farm. And so that transition started for us in 2019. And so we went through this 3-year period of, kind of watching how our crops and our wine grapes and land responded to that. And it was honestly very fascinating. Each year, there was more wildlife. We started seeing more diverse native ground growth. Our beneficial insects started, doubling. Last year, for example, I'm walking through one of our Zinfandel vines, and you can get this called mites on Zinfandel, especially if it's really dusty, and something really great for those are ladybugs. And I'm walking through and there's ladybugs almost every vine. We didn't see that years before. So it's really exciting to see how your land responds to that. And also, like our neighbors, we let all of our property open to our neighbors. So everyone's always walking their dogs and riding their bikes and going for runs. And
oh, geez, now I know where I need to,
yeah.
to go and purchase some land.
Yeah, right. So,
Great.
there's that too. And so people get to see that. And it's been really fun to watch everyone's reactions to that for sure.
I love that. And I can absolutely see the passion in your face, Megan,
Oh,
how exciting that is to see. And, I think as a company, I wonder if that was, as you're testing this out and seeing how it's going to go and seeing how the land takes and it evolves, as a company, that'd be a little nerve wracking. I would think, because you don't know what's going to happen. It's almost like this gamble, because you really want to do better and to stick with the resiliency of the company and also to help, just in the involvement of our planet and the future health of our planet. So that's wonderful
absolutely.
info. I'm going to go take us to a commercial. I really could talk to you all day long. And if you haven't already gone on this point, which I don't think we have, but when we come back, I want to talk about the unique power and ability of the wine industry to influence all agricultural sectors to farm for the benefit of the climate and environment. And I know we've touched a little bit on that already, but let's go a little deeper. Stay tuned.
Sounds great.
So let's talk about all of the benefits to the climate and the environment.
Oh yeah. Well, there's a lot going on there. So, what's really cool about the wine industry, I guess where I should start, what separates the wine industry and the agriculture sector compared to other agricultural sectors is that we're a luxury product, so
yes, you are.
we're a luxury product. You don't need wine to survive, or at least, I might, but frankly, we have a lot more monetary and marketing power than, say you're a potato farmer. And so when you drink a glass of Bundschu or Abbott's Passage wine, for example.
Wait, hold on. Is it show and tell?
Let's see yours. Should this be some show and tell?
Wait, I have them in the back here.
Amazing. What do you have there?
I have a dry. It's hard.
Gewürztraminer.
Yeah.
Or you can say Gewürz to make it easy. Dry Gewürztraminer. That is one of our really special wines because Jacob Gunluck, one of our founding fathers, he actually smuggled that grape over from Germany, and it's still planted on our property today, and it's delicious.
Oh, and we can talk about it now.
Yes, we can.
Okay. I love that. I might want to hear more. And then I have
our Cabernet Sauvignon.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
They
Very
were
nice.
So good. These were our top picks for sure.
Amazing. And you tried those whenever Jessica and Joe came in, and that's when you did that. Awesome. Yeah. Well, I have here our Abbott's Passage Noontide. Oh, so this is a, extension of the Bundschu Company portfolio. Katie Bundschu, she's our 6th generation female vintner, and she wanted to do something to kind of set herself apart from the family as the first female, and she runs this amazing winery called Abbott's Passage, and it's all Rhone varietal inspired, and supports women-run businesses in the mercantile, and super
Cool.
super cool. So I had to, have a little bit as I'm sitting here in the tasting room.
I failed there on that one, but
But not to digress too
I
much.
was gonna ask you about that if you were at on site.
Yeah, so I'm on site here at Abbott's Passage. I'm actually looking at our field table of vines, Zinfandel vines planted in the 50s. So they're absolutely gorgeous. But yeah, you'll have to come out here sometime and
Oh,
get the full
I
experience.
absolutely will make it out there
Yeah.
someday. Absolutely in the future, near future, hopefully. Um, I'm so excited. So yeah, tell me
Oh, so I
more.
digressed a little bit. So
No, I'm glad that we got to talk about that because I mean that is what you create. You guys create this incredible luxury product
yeah.
that is such a beautiful thing to offer to people because it's the way that you do it. And that
Mhm.
is why you're here on the Wellness Driven Life show
Yes. Good
because
circle back.
of all you do. Yeah.
Good circle back. Yeah. So really, when people are drinking a glass of one of our wines, we want them to feel good about it. And we want them to know that what they're drinking isn't terrible for them. And
Mm.
that we also created it in a sustainable and responsible way as stewards for the environment. And as I mentioned, this being a luxury product, we have a little bit more money and marketing power. And that is where I think the wine industry, has a special opportunity to be able to kind of push this regenerative organic agenda and help influence other agricultural sectors that may not be as exposed to the farming possibilities because one, it may be a little more expensive, or as we were talking about early, could be a risk to transition. I think in the wine industry, the organic transition risk of, maybe not having as much yield as you did conventionally, or
Mm.
having an alteration of your taste, or just simply not being able to have as much control over any sort of issue that may happen in your vineyard. It presents a lot of risk, and it can be really terrifying for any farmer, especially a farmer that really, really relies on that crop every year to be able to, sustain the farm the following year. So, so in the wine industry, we have a lot of voice and a lot of potential and a lot of land, as I mentioned earlier, and a lot of ability to make a difference and farm for the environment and farm in response to climate change. And because the wine grapes and vineyards are a perennial crop, meaning they live year round, year after year. It's not a crop that, so I mentioned potatoes earlier. You're not farming it one year, harvesting them and planting a new seed. It's the same seed. It's the same rootstock. It's unless you're grafting on it. That we don't want to get too technical, but so this a perennial crop. That means the roots are in the ground and the roots are very deep tap rooted. And that means that these roots that are consistently in the ground are able to draw down carbon. And because they, in a vineyard, you have about 6 to 8 feet in between each row of vines. And in that 6 to 8 feet, you also have the potential to draw down even more carbon from the atmosphere via cover crops or ground cover with roots in the ground year round, not tilling them up. And that is another aspect of regenerative agriculture is low to no till. And that purpose is to keep the roots in the ground and draw down carbon. So as a perennial crop, that's what really is special in terms of, adapting to climate change. I have my winemaker standing outside of the window messing with me right now. So.
Oh, shame on him.
I know.
Does he want to come on camera and say hello? He's going to be so loud.
I think he should. I'll send him a little text. Actually, you can go grab him. Yeah, he has to now. So,
well, I think Meghan, you're such an incredible teacher. Really, I don't think anybody has an idea of, like you said, the wine industry with the amount of land and and space that you have, and the fact that it's a perennial crop, that it has such a huge effect on climate change. I did not know that. I wouldn't have even thought of it. But what a wonderful point that you make there,
The more
that
you know.
it's just a big impact. And so that's a cool understanding. And now I want to buy more wine.
Good. You should buy from
So,
responsible brands.
yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, that's really what drove me to the wine industry, is just the amount of impact that we can have for the environment. You think about the wine industry and you think about viticulture, you think about viticulturists and winemakers, and you don't really think about, the nitty gritty of these types of things. And this can be applied to every single sector of any agriculture. So, and that's what's so special about it and so exciting about it, especially for the regenerative organic certification. They certify all food products, textiles, personal care products, and they have a whole market where you can go on and, search for your brand or search for what you need, and it can pop out, oh, these are some regenerative organic certified farmers that are producing these products. And so, and you mentioned like teaching, I think sustainability, most of it is teaching people to have a better understanding of what you're doing from your day to day and what you're choosing, and having, a lot of confidence in your own purchasing power and being able to make the decisions that, will be beneficial and not harmful for you or your future kids or grandkids.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm going to bring the audience back again to the point of, you with your background and how passionate you are about, global change when it's needed, and that you were drawn to the wine industry based on that larger impact. So that's really wonderful. So we really touched on a lot. I want to come back. I want to go to a commercial right quick. And then when we come back, go on the importance of technological innovation in agriculture in response to climate change. That'll be cool. So stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back.
Hello, everyone. I am Kim Jacobs, the host of The Kim Jacobs Show. And you all know who's right here with me, Dr. Les Brown. How are you, Dr. Brown?
I'm blessed and highly favored. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the time you want to give yourself a competitive edge. If you got a message, you have some knowledge or experience, a story, or if you want to do something adventurous and exciting with your life that can increase your credibility, expose you to millions of people, I am encouraging you to have your own talk show. I used to have a talk show. That one talk show catapulted me to another level. Now there are more people watching the internet, as you are aware, than television. Yes. Come on, somebody.
That's right.
Dr. Kim Jacobs, she trained people on how to have their own talk show. She will train you how to do that. And now with me partnering with her, now you have the combination of an audience, expansive audience. We have over 4 million people in all of our platforms, and the coaching you need to grow your business, to grow your multi-level marketing organization, to draw more attention to yourself in this noisy economy. Go ahead, Kim.
So in the training that I do, Les, I actually do a 6-week training. It's 1 hour per week. And each week I meet with the individuals one-on-one. We go through and we talk about all of the things that's necessary for a show to become a reality. We go from how to actually identify your focus area, what's going to be your ideal customer that's going to be tuning in. We'll talk about how to get guests, how to get sponsorship, how to go about getting your lighting, your branding, and your banners, and everything that you need to know. And guess what, Les? They own their own content at the end of the day.
And that's exciting. Now, if you're ready to create a shift in your business and in your life and increase your cash flow, I want you to go to KimJacobsConsulting.com. It's right there on the screen, KimJacobsConsulting.com. People say opportunity knocks on every door. Right. No. Opportunity stands by silently waiting for you to recognize it. So I want you to recognize that this is a time for you. This is an incredible time to have your own talk show. It establishes a level of credibility.
Yes.
And by being exposed to people on a regular basis, it allows you to strategically begin to impact and attract your audience. She can take you in a place in yourself that you can't go by yourself. So go to KimJacobsConsulting.com. That's KimJacobsConsulting.com. Did I say KimJacobsConsulting.com? Yes, you did. Very good. Make sure you go there and sign up for the coaching, and we're looking forward to working with you. You have something special. You have greatness within you. That's my story, and that's Kim's story, and we're sticking to it. Bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so I actually asked you what the importance of technological innovation in agriculture in response to climate change, but I think I jumped the gun lock. And let's backtrack a little bit, because I would love to know what the effect is on climate change in regards to regenerative agriculture and the wine industry. How is that effect on climate change? Can you talk a little bit about that first?
Yeah. So I think actually the way to explain it, if I can, I'm going to kind of flip this around a little bit, but it's going to all work out.
Lead the way.
All right. So as we all know, with climate change, we've had a lot of different types of weather changes and different patterns in the weather. But with that related to the wine industry, we can no longer really rely on the old farmer's almanac. There's been farmers here in this area in the wine industry that have been doing this for decades, and suddenly they're no longer harvesting on their typical harvest date, or their vines are bud breaking weeks before than they typically would, or they're starting irrigation way sooner than they are used to, meaning they're using more water. Or we're having, crazy rain events when we're not really supposed to be having rain, and that can cause different sorts of mildew and issues in the vines. So there's a lot of different changing weather patterns that have been affecting the industry and making it a little bit more difficult, or a lot more difficult, to really know where your vines are at and what you need to be doing with them. And then that coupled with wildfires and droughts and extreme temperatures, or even, for example, in France this past year, they had a really late frost event that basically ruined their entire vintage. We, of course, had our 2020, my first year in the industry in 2020, we couldn't harvest any of our red wine grapes because of smoke taint, because of fires that weren't even directly in our valley. So these effects of climate change are very apparent in the industry. And with regenerative agriculture and technological innovation, we've been able to have more confidence in our growing seasons and even in our off seasons. For example, with regenerative agriculture, the basic goal of it is to allow your land to become more self-reliant or self-sustainable, self-sufficient, resilient, another word.
And that's how you use the animals and the insects.
Yes. So with that, we're looking to create a holistic system, and having, everything in that system matters, from your soil microbiome to your animals to your farm workers, and everything basically is in tune with one another. And especially sorry, go ahead. Yes, please.
This is where my mind goes, and it excites me. And many people probably already get this, and you definitely do. But really, essentially, what it sounds like to me is what you're doing is, so my belief is that our bodies can heal ourselves. And because we have this incredible design we were designed to heal ourselves, to bounce back, to navigate in the sense of whatever happens to us. That's
Mhm.
why, when we get a cut, we eventually heal ourselves. So it sounds to me like essentially you're doing the same thing with the land. Like there's this whole connection aspect of it where
Absolutely.
it just heals itself, it bounces back, it does what it needs to do in the face of adverse aspects such as weather
Mhm.
conditions, etc.
Absolutely. That's a really great way to put it, actually, and a great way for people to kind of understand the connection here. Because when you set yourself up for success in terms of your daily health, you feel better. You're able to fight off infection. You're able to wake up in the morning and feel good, and that the same thing goes for the environment. And it all starts really with our soil health. And that's what the underlying goal of regenerative agriculture is to build up your soil health as much as possible. And then that comes in the
Okay, so
form
the internal
yes, exactly. Your
aspect.
internal system and
Yep.
the systems within the microbiome, that's your water cycle, your nitrogen cycle, all kinds of different, your water infiltration, the organic matter. And that then when you're introducing, the animals, cover crops, low to no till, these are all helping to build those things up. So your rotating animals, your grazing, they're helping fertilize really that top soil there. And your top soil is so important because when you lose your top soil, that's your protective layer. And then you don't have anything to continually build up to. And then your cover crops, like I mentioned earlier, you're keeping those roots in the ground. It's kind of like soil armor. It's to protect the soil. If you don't have your soil covered, so if you think about rain is impacting your soil, it's compacting it. And then whenever nutrients need to break down, it's not able to get through. Or even water. If your soil is too compacted, your water can't infiltrate properly. And then the roots aren't getting to it the way it needs to. So it's just all these little things. And even wind, if your topsoil is exposed, wind is going to blow it all away.
Right.
That ends up in your water streams, and then the fish are dying. It's all a full circle, and it really is. So it's it's a lot. I don't want to go down too big of a rabbit
No,
hole
it's
here.
incredible. And that's why it's so important to get that certification. I'm going to read it again because I can't remember it, but the regenerative organic certification and
Yes.
why it takes years to get to that point. Like,
Yeah.
I would love to just educate our audience in at least one aspect there is when you see that certification on branding, it's a big deal.
Yeah, it really is. And I mentioned this earlier, how a lot of people may not, put as much value in certifications, but there's a lot of work that goes into that. And there's a lot of, continuous improvement, and there's a lot of self-checking, and there's a lot of validating through third parties, so there's a lot that's going on there to ensure that we're doing the right thing. And it might not always be the easiest thing to do, but for us, it's the right thing. And that's the way we want to see the industry go. And that's how we want to preserve our property. So that's what we're going to do.
Yeah. All right. Let's, because I know that we could go on and on, can't we?
Mhm.
Let's jump into this photo album. I'm really excited to
Mm.
share. Your guys' company sent this to me, and I would love for you to talk a little bit
Yeah,
about it. There's the
let's do it.
beautiful land. I love this photo.
This is actually our La Paz vineyard. And so what you're seeing here is a lot of this, actually, all of these vines here are in our Bordeaux varietals. So you see a lot of those in our Mountain Cuvée, which is pretty accessible across the whole United States. And then we have our cab there. So the bottle that you have that comes from this vineyard right here.
Oh, yay. I
This
love
is a
that.
really
I love seeing
special.
the picture
Yeah,
to where I'm
yeah.
like, know where it's from.
Totally. And then that pond there, that's a water reclamation pond. And so we irrigate out of that pond. And so we aren't, dipping too much into our groundwater.
Mm.
Oh, yes. This is our journey, kind of how we're getting to where we are.
Yeah.
The family they've always operated sustainably, meaning, they have gotten this far. How could you not?
Yeah.
And fish friendly farming, this is this was kind of one of the first certifications that was around in this area. Now it's definitely a requirement. It's basically farming to prevent soil erosion and to protect, I'm blanking on your watershed. So we have a lot of really important watersheds around us, and when you're farming and agriculture, all of that runoff ends up in your local watershed. So this was when the certification was actually introduced way back in 2008. It's funny that that's way back now.
I know, right?
It feels like yesterday. That's funny. And now it's a requirement, but that was one of the real first certification steps that we took at the time. And it was a pretty big deal then as well. And then the following year, we earned our green business certification. And that mainly came from all of the work that we've put into our water reclamation and solar systems, solar panel systems, not space on the property. So
Meghan, is that only locally? Because I see it says Bay Area.
Yes, these are both local certifications. Okay. And then CCOF organic, you've probably seen CCOF. This is this is a national certifying body. And this is who we got our organic certification to last year. That was really exciting. And then now, we are on target to hit our regenerative organic certification in August. Super exciting there.
That is. Are you guys, is the company planning on having a celebration?
Nothing on the books yet, but I'm sure there will definitely be some special events for it.
Tell them April on the Wellness Driven Life Show encourages a celebration.
I will. I can't imagine us not. Oh man, yeah. So these are farming organically. We really rely on, I kind of have mentioned this, our holistic system, our native habitats, things that visit Ryan Farm that can help benefit us and how we can bolster them, help them, and then they help us. It's kind of, a little barter and trade system. So these are our bird boxes. We've had them on the property forever. And we've recently added a lot more, but they house bluebirds and tree swallows. Bluebirds are amazing for any sort of herbivorous pest out in the vineyard. And then tree swallows are amazing for flies. So the tree swallows really help keep our livestock, all of our ruminants. We have several, I'm sure we'll get into pictures about that, but they help keep them, fly free without using any sort of synthetic pesticide on the animals. And then of course, helping out with the pests in the vineyard. So we have about 50 of those across the property. And then the one in the middle is actually an owl box. And those are great for ground squirrels. And we get little owl families that live in them every year. They're so cute. The ground squirrels are cute too, but they do some damage.
I was going to say, I'm sure those squirrels definitely do some damage. So I can see how owls are beneficial.
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is just some of our property. This is really highlighting our cover crops and how we think about our soil. And in the top right hand corner there, we can get into this a little bit. So, you can't manage what you don't measure. That's my favorite little saying in terms of soil health. So we partnered with the Savory Institute. If you don't know who they are, you should check them out. They're an amazing foundation started by Alan Savory that is really focused on holistic grazing, regenerative agriculture for all of our grasslands, and how we can develop our grasslands to be carbon sinks, essentially, and to sequester carbon. And so we do ecological outcome verification monitor. So that's a mouthful, through the Savory Institute. And they came out in 2021 to conduct our baseline year before we were certified organic, because we wanted to see where our soil was, where our land health is, and how we can improve, and what we need to do to improve. And we had our year 1 monitoring completed this past April in 2022, and we were deemed ecologically outcome verified, meaning that we are
Nice.
making a positive, difference in our land. Our ecosystem is seeing a positive trend toward regeneration. And so here in this photo, we are inspecting a cow patty, and we're so excited because
I thought I was curious.
yes, it's some cow dung, and we were stoked that there were dung beetles breaking it down. The year before, we weren't seeing many dung beetles in our in the cow patties, and those are a really strong indication of a healthy microbiome in your soil. If you haven't, sorry, go ahead. Please cut me off, or I'll keep going.
But my mind went to, how you're alleviating the flies, and I was thinking, well, what about what flies do? So what takes that place? And so you're saying, I think the dung beetles do.
Yes, absolutely. Cool. And dung beetles, if your soil is at a certain state of health, they could break down cow patties in a matter of hours. And so that's really allowing all of those nutrients to be broken down and taken up into your soil. Otherwise, if you have a degraded, unhealthy soil, those cow patties just sit on top and oxidize, and the nutrients don't incorporate into your soil whatsoever. And so you have to actually get your soil microbiome to a state where it can successfully break down nutrients that need to be in it. And that's really where that holisticness and, keeping the roots in the ground and utilizing your native habitats really comes into play.
Oh, that's fascinating. Fascinating.
Yeah, so there's more of that EOV monitoring and indicating that we're EOV verified. So we do this every year, and we have across both of our properties about 30 short-term monitoring and then 10 long-term monitoring sites that will help us pinpoint how we're progressing and anything we need to change or anything we need to do differently, or, something that we need to catapult us or so forth.
Because you can't manage what you don't measure.
That's right. Oh, these are our little bees. So with regenerative organic, you have to introduce animals to your property. And we, of course, have our ruminants, but the bees were our first introduction. And we actually have more native land on Rhine Farm than we do planted acres. So that native land has a lot of pollinator opportunities and our gardens. And so vines are self-pollinating, but we bring all of these bees on site so that they can pollinate our native land and keep all of those systems, moving forward healthily.
I like that.
And here are our ruminants and our grazing team. Oh my goodness. So we have 9 baby doll sheep, and currently 4 of them are pregnant. So we're about to increase our baby doll sheep team. But what's special about baby doll sheep is they aren't able to get up on their hind legs because they're so short and plump. And they're absolutely adorable. So we are able to graze them in the vineyard year round, and they can't get up
without eating the crop.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So they do an amazing job weeding our rows, which, prevents excess fuel combustion out in the vineyard. And they also are great for fertilizing our topsoil, as I mentioned earlier. And then those 2 little guys in the bottom left-hand corner, they are not little anymore, let me tell you. They just turned 1 year old. They're our Turkish Akbaş livestock guardian dogs, and they are non-lethal predator control. So they spend time with our baby doll sheep. And I mean, when I say time, they follow them around everywhere and protect them. And they're awesome. Their names are Bert and Ernie. So they were actually named by some GB Gunluck Bundschu fans. And I think they're awesome. And then in the middle, those are our Hereford steers. So we have 3 male Hereford cows, and they graze our fallow fields. So it's fields that aren't planted. So typically in the industry, if you have a fallow field, you want to utilize that space to increase your production, right? And we, in that, like a conventional setting, it would be pumped with, synthetic fertilizers and be turned around in like a year, replanted. And then it takes 3 years to get a crop on a vine. And so our process for this instead is to graze these cows, and also we put our sheep in there as well. And so they've been working our fallow fields for about 2 years now, and they're really great for grazing them throughout those paddocks and helping to regenerate the soil with that added fertilization, and their compaction with their hooves is really awesome.
Okay, so you have some more planting in the future.
We do.
Year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, we'll see. We haven't really decided our, what varietal we want to do yet. I think we have some ideas, but we do have several fallow fields that we're looking to replant. So we should be able to pump some more wine out to you guys here soon.
Wonderful. I really like that. That's, you got some definite future planning.
Oh yeah.
And then we have a couple more here.
Oh yeah. So then we, up in the right-hand corner, we have Daisy and Knickers. Those are our resident donkeys. They honestly are just really cute. They don't do oh no, I'm sorry. They do. No, we'll put them up in our so as I mentioned, we have a ton of native land, and a lot of that is a wooded area. So the donkeys, and then our goats, these are alpine goats in the bottom right-hand corner. We have 4 of those guys, and they graze our native land, and they're amazing for fire prevention. So anytime you have any overgrown land that is connecting from the floor to the canopy, it's a severe fire risk because it gets dried out during fire season, and it basically is just amazing fuel for the fire. And so
and historically, Bunlock has had issues with fires, correct?
Yes. Yeah. We came very, very, very close in 2017. Our team was on property fighting the fire ourselves. Our CEO, Jeff, he actually happened across a fire truck and was able to get them to come to our property and basically save our winery and facilities. And that was like a 3-day, long fight. And then 2020, we lost a majority of our crop to smoke taint. So fire is very real for the industry, and it's a very threatening thing to a lot of people's livelihoods, really.
So these little goats are very important.
They absolutely are, and they do a great job.
I skipped one.
Oh, so that pond in the left-hand corner there, actually in 2017 fires, there was a CAL FIRE helicopter that was dipping into it to put out fires across the other side of town. So we like to say that pond actually saved a part of Sonoma. It was really cool. So that's one of our water reclamation ponds as well. We have 2 of those pictured there. And so we're able to irrigate from our vineyards from reclaimed water. And then those machines there, this is kind of the innovative technology we were alluding to earlier. So these machines help us to be able to know really what kind of water stress our vines are under with the changing weather patterns and the droughts and everything. It's been more difficult to understand really when the vineyard needs to be irrigated, because we don't want to let our vines get too stressed, but we don't want to overwater. Water conservation is very important for us. And so these are tools that help us be able to refine our irrigation practices and ensure we're not using too much water, and we are extending our irrigation sessions as long as possible in between, so we're not wasting any water. So one is a evapotranspiration sensor, and then one is a soil probe and a weather station, and it goes into the soil and is able to tell us how saturated our soil is up to 48 inches deep. So these kinds of things have become pretty essential with farming out here.
I love that there's such a intricate, I can't speak, collaboration between, you know, this beautiful working of both nature and innovative science, and how we can combine the two of them and create this really unique
Totally.
yeah.
There's so
I-
much opportunity there, and I think, it's the future, and
it is.
technology will, I think, get us through our toughest times, and might be the toughest time because of it. But no, it's been very beneficial to us for innovation and science. We're actually working with some Berkeley scientists right now that started a new company called Root Applied Sciences, and they're helping us reduce the amount of times we need to spray our vines for powdery mildew, which is a very common thing that happens in the wine industry. You have to prevent powdery mildew in your vineyard anytime the weather is above 75 degrees but below 90 degrees. And there's this new technology that is kind of like a COVID test. It's a PCR test, and it collects spores, and then it can quantify the amount of spores that creates powdery mildew in your vineyard. So you have time to spray, or you can not spray, and therefore reserve your resources, reserve labor, reserve, time, combustion of fossil fuels. It's really fascinating. So there's
I
a
love
lot
that.
there.
That
Mhm.
and yeah, it just goes to show, when we integrate those science and that new technology, it really truly saves us so much.
Absolutely.
I mean, and it could be on such a massive scale of what it does save us. So that's very cool.
Yeah, and this is just some of our solar power. We have enough solar panels that powers our 60% of our winery production, and then it also powers all of our water reclamation system. So we actually were the second winery in California to install floating solar panels. So on the bottom right-hand corner there, those panels are actually floating on a wastewater pond. So so it's our wastewater pond. It collects all of the waste from our winery and any winery production, and then it is recycled with just solar rays and aerobic, so air, and then it gets filtered through into another pond, and then it's able to be reused for irrigation.
Oh, that is brilliant. So you said you're the second one to do that. Do you know how many are doing it?
I don't know how many are doing it now, but I know those floating panels were kind of a innovative big deal whenever they first did it. Yeah.
I hadn't heard of it. So that's really cool. Brilliant.
Yeah. And then this right here, this is compost. This is pumice. So all of our wine grapes that are crushed throughout the crushing season, so during harvest, that's hundreds of tons of pumice. And so we collect that, and it gets sent for compost, and then is reutilized in the vineyard.
Oh, it's so pretty.
Yeah. Well, it's very strong, actually. It smells like fermentation.
Yeah, pretty in a different way.
Yeah.
So this is kind of a lot here with this photo, but this is your journey.
Yeah, this is really like what I've been up to since I joined the company, and just kind of like where we've started with this getting to regenerative, and how we've got there, and yeah, we're almost there.
Right, almost there. And this is a little hard to see, I think, for the audience, but can you just explain briefly what each of these pockets are?
Yeah, so these are the 3 pillars of the regenerative organic certification, and that is focusing on your soil health, your animal welfare, and your farm worker fairness. So one of the really cool aspects of this ROC certification, and what really was one of the main driving forces for us to go after it, is that farm worker fairness piece. As a family-owned company, our workers are everything to us, and as in agriculture, it tends to get lost, and it's sad that really needs to even be a pillar for something. But it's really important for us, and we like to, our our vineyard and our cellar workers are all internal, so we don't really contract much work out, and we like to do everything we can to provide, you know, as high skilled positions as possible and as high value positions as possible. So for example, we have right now for our viticulture program, we have the United States' first steep slope harvester. It's actually from Germany, and we are utilizing the first one in the US. And so all of our vineyard workers are being trained on this amazing new piece of equipment that is able to go up slopes up to 7%, which is really, really steep. And so just for an example of, you know, these high skilled opportunities that we're able to give people that really, you know, give them value in their work. And, you know, just to be able to go to work and have pride in what you do. That's, you know, really the main focus for that. And that really,
I know
just
I'm a
comes.
better worker when I have pride in what I do.
Absolutely. Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Yeah.
So yeah, those are really the three things that we're deeply focused on to achieve this certification. And it's three things that are really the foundation of our agriculture program for sure.
Teamwork makes the dream work.
Yeah, there's our team.
All
Some of them,
right.
at least. Some of them.
Oh, that's great. You really, this really shows me the importance and aspects of community that you guys have cultivated here.
It's definitely very, very important to us, from, you know, our neighbors to our employees, the family, everything in the industry. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And here's some more pictures of the soil.
Yeah, so these are just some vines. Oh yeah, we got some soil. We got all kinds of good pictures in here, don't we? Yeah, so that's just, you know, other things highlighting. That's up in the left-hand corner. That's some bud break. That's the season we're about to come up on now here soon. Usually we have bud break the end of March. So that means that's basically our first indication that growing season has arrived and things start to happen above the soil rather than below it.
So all is well this year. That's
all is
exciting.
well. Yeah. You know, we're still getting rain. We've gotten a ton of rain. Our soil is completely saturated. So we're feeling pretty good going into this growing season for sure.
And this is the fruits of our labor.
That's right. Great ending, photo marketing team.
Yeah.
Oh, cheers to that.
Cheers to that. That is beautiful. Oh my goodness. Well, gosh, we really could go on and on. Meghan, you are so full of information, and I absolutely have enjoyed having you on the show. Is there anything else that you want to share with our audience today?
I hope I didn't overwhelm anyone with too much information. You have my contact info here at the bottom of the screen. I'd be so happy to answer any additional questions anyone has or go deeper into any topic. I know I probably covered a little too much, but I had so much fun here with you, April, and I really appreciate you bringing me on.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, of course. You know, and you know, the company is doing so many cool things. And, you know, I know we talked a little bit about bringing on maybe even somebody else, because there's so much richness with what you guys are doing and the company, and the fact that it is so old, and with, you know, why did I think 7 generations? So it is the 6th generation. Still, it doesn't matter. That's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah. We'll be heading into the 7th generation when Jeff's kids take over. So Jeff is our CEO now, 6th generation, next is 7th. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, just the resiliency aspect of that. And, you know, we didn't even tap into the historical aspects. And,
I know, that's a whole other ballpark.
It is. It's a whole other. So, you know, just you being on here sharing, you know, this aspect has been awesome. And I'm so excited. And I know that our audience is going to just be thrilled about all of the knowledge, the beautiful things that you shared that we now get to know because of you. So very, very
pleasure.
Cool. I want to, yeah, definitely. So you can reach out at Meghan at bundschu.com. And there's a couple of websites, www.gunbun.com,
Gun bun, baby. Mhm.
and then the www.abbott
Abbott's Passage.
abbotspassage.com.
Yes.
So, two incredible areas to find lots more information. And thank you again, Meghan, for being on the Wellness Driven Life Show.
Thank
and I
you
just want to
so
let
much.
you're welcome. Let our audience know. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you have any questions or comments, you can, and you're watching the replay, you can ask away and we will get back to you. So until then, we appreciate you being here and goodbye for now.